And I love that movie, and I love his part in it. And it's my thrill to introduce him, his last line in that movie, which was, "Now you're motivating me." I'm motivated to hear the man behind all these roles, all these characters, and all these movies. Let's give a Rock Eagle welcome to Lou.
Hey, what's up, y'all? You don't have to get down and give me 50 tonight. Thank you, sir, for this invitation. I was blown away in the driveway when I saw all these brothers from all over the place acting like you won, being very grateful to be sober, and it made my day. So thank you for being who you are. It's a beautiful thing. My name is Lou. I'm an alcoholic. I'm going to tell you my story, and I'm excited to tell stories to people who I'm like and who's like me. I come from the post-Depression family, Brooklyn, New York. In order to leave that place, I had to get a tongue transplant and a passport to get out of there. Because we're the only ones spoke like that. Coney Island, to be specific. So after the Depression, we didn't have nothing. And so most of the people who came to the United States and came to those particular places, we relied on our roots. So I grew up with everybody who was not like me and like me. We were together. We had no bats, so we took broomstick handles and balls, and third base was the Chevrolet on the left. And we partied together. And if my parents didn't get home in time, I could smell my way around the world. I could have dinner and have Jewish food, have some corned beef and cabbage, or some fried chicken, or some gefilte fish, or some lasagna. Depends on who was home. So we grew up that way, pretty good. It was tough, but we were in seventh heaven. On Friday and Saturday nights, I didn't have a bedroom, so I had to leave the day room where I was so my parents could get home and have a good time. So I grew up with the Lindy Hop and the Jitterbugs and the Duke Ellington and Cab Calloway and all those particular people, looking through them as they partied, and I never saw them have such a good time in my life. 3, 4, and 5, and 6 years old, I wanted to be just like them. They danced and did the Lindy Hop, really, and a lot of laughter. So finally I learned how to do a little dances, and so every now and then I was in seventh heaven, they'd pull me in and I'd do some dancing for them. And they laughed at me and hugged me and sent me back. They had a strange scent in the room. So that must have been the smell of love, I thought, because they're having such a good time. I wasn't about 5 or 6 years old. I wanted to smell like that and act like that too. So if you take that smell and drink that stuff, you can have a good time too, Friday and Saturday night. So this is post-Depression. So that's the first thing that I remember. Me and my cousins would party and look out the window, and there they were. Monday to Friday was all business. And they came out really in bad shape, with a bad attitude. But as soon as Friday night and Saturday night came, so that's all I knew. So they made sure that I didn't be one of those, so they sent me to school, and I had to be the best in school to make them proud. I had a great-grandmama from down here. I have a photograph of me and her, and I started in theater in 1953. So I have a picture of me and her backstage, and I was 15, and she was 115. So she was a slave, and her job was to take care of me and my cousins. And you had to be serious about that, because her and that railroad mill snuff she had, she only lied to me one time. She said, "This is going to hurt me more than it's going to hurt you." So here we are. We had to sneak around her and stuff to get, because what I really wanted to do was just be just like my dad and my uncles. They were my heroes. But they had to keep an eye on me, so I had to be a straight-up student. So I got good at it. I got good at lying. I could handle it. I became the president of the junior high school and the president of the high school, and I could fool my parents. And was good to me. That's when I learned how to act. So I was getting away with murder most of those young days. But what I really wanted to do, which I had resentment, was I didn't want to be the best student. I want to be just like them. Just like my dad, just like my aunts and my uncles. Friday and Saturday night especially. So I had to do it in private, in secret. So I'd go in a corner with people who wanted to do the same thing, and we'd look out the window and take a little sip and come on out like we were good students, and nobody knew. That's the early beginning, I believe, of my disease. I called the disease Lucifer, by the way. You know who Lucifer was? He was the one angel that God kicked out of heaven to do this, what he does to every one of these people, you in the room. Lucifer, and that's what I call him. But Lucifer is stronger than me, I found out, and he's clever. Even when not sober, he'll find his way to get into my system. All of our systems, I see there's nothing but bobblehead dolls trying to think about the same thing. But Lucifer is very powerful. So there's two things more powerful than me. Lucifer, my disease, and God. And somewhere, somebody, y'all, and we have made a decision to find the thing that's stronger than us and Lucifer together, and that is your higher power. Once you find out who that higher power is, then Lucifer, pissed, will go away. We've got to do it on a daily basis. And my design of cleverness to fool anybody, slowly and surely, here in my 16th year of sobriety, is finally gone to sleep a little bit, so I can come here and tell you my experience, strength and hope. I had a great-grandma, I talked to her, she's from down here, and she was in Brooklyn. She was a mother of the First Baptist Church of Sheepshead Bay. And she did a thing called railroad mill snuff. That was her addiction. It had butterscotch flavor to it. And that butterscotch flavor, every time I did something wrong, somewhere in the air I'd smell that butterscotch flavor. So I'd smell the butterscotch flavor. It was all over my living room when I was smoking and drinking and doing that thing. And I said, where is she? And I don't know who she was, but that smell kept hitting me. So when she passed away, she stayed in my presence. So one winter, her and the two deaconesses, on Sundays, they'd have some coffee, and they'd go to church, and one of them said, they were about 80 years old, one of them said, I think I'm getting a little senile because I went to get something out of the refrigerator and stood there for 15 minutes trying to remember when I get out of the refrigerator. The second one says, I know what you mean because I stood in my closet for 25 minutes trying to remember what I was standing in the closet. And my great-grandmother said, now, y'all be ashamed of yourself talking about how old and senile you are. I'm at least 10 years older than both of y'all. And thank God. Who is it? So one of the things that has happened to me is I copied my great-grandmama here in my 16th year of sobriety. But I had the art of deflection. It started early. All I really wanted to do was be like my father and my uncles. And I found ways to do that on weekends. And you were not a man. If you can identify, you're old enough, you're not a man unless you can do your stuff, drink, use, and on Saturday night, get some sleep and go to church on Sundays. And from Monday to Friday, you do the best job in the neighborhood. And if you can't do that, you can't drink, you can't use, because you're not a man. So I learned the habit of being able to use, party, dance, and get ready for the Friday and Saturday night and be the loudest person in the room, just like my uncle. Stagger to the church Sunday morning, do Sunday school, and then listen to the minister was partying with me too. And we'd wink at each other on Sunday and do the whole thing. And then on Monday, I was called to be the best person in the room. There is my first ego, my uncle's ego, my father's ego. You can't do it. If you can't do that, you're not a man. So I had to look around buildings and around doors, and my first drink was my Jewish friend's Manischewitz wine. Boy, that stuff was good, especially with some ice. So I'd go and they want me to come to the synagogue. I said, hell yeah. I got me some Manischewitz wine, and they do their thing. And they said, what do you think, Lou? I said, yeah, this is pretty good to me. But when I got home from work or from school on the evening at dinner time, and my parents were not home, I could smell my way around the world. So I knew about Manischewitz, I knew about Chianti, I knew about Thunderbird. I knew about all that, and nobody knew. So I prided myself in being able to deflect a lie at the age of 14, 15 years old, and win awards as an actor and be the number one person in school just as long as I could do whatever I wanted, and nobody knew. And then come on Monday and be the first one with the straight A's, and be the most popular person in the room, in the school. Vice president of the senior body class in junior high school, and president of the school in Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln, 1953, 1954. I'm good at this. I started keeping my hands in my pockets and swaggering around because I had this fixed. So now 1954, I graduate, and I'm on Broadway, and a lead, that's what my teacher said, you're good enough, you can go and do this. I went there, I had a lead in 1954. It was my first play, and it's called Take a Giant Step. I got good at it. My teachers, of course, were pretty guys. I went to the Actors Studio, and that's where Marlon Brando was, and all those, Marilyn Monroe, and all those people. And I fitted in pretty good. And I grazed my artist's way of deflecting the truth. Acting. This is exactly what I was doing when I was 4. So I learned how to do that and talk you into that. I was really a man, and I knew how to do that. I knew what to dress like and hang out with the jazz musicians, me and Dizzy Gillespie and Charlie Mingus, just like my uncles. They'd be in the alleyway, giggling and laughing. They'd come out of the alleyway after smoking whatever they did and knock the house down. I want to do something like that, So that's what I followed. That's my first thing. I fell in love with the lifestyle. I knew how to dance, I knew how to walk, I knew how to pose. And the women, had a ball there. And that lie lasted. But so did my talent of deflection. So some of you people saw me do some good stuff on television, films, because I had developed my art of deflection. I can make you feel I was doing anything. And you bought it. Thank God. And I got good at it. Everything was wonderful. I got around the world and learned how to live in places like Egypt and Israel and go back and forth to those two countries without a passport because of my work. But also in my work was the hookah. And in Israel, there was the new kind of rolling. I'm not going to tell on themselves. But I come back with this. I was the one that had the best dressed stuff for the neighborhood. I'm a hippie, But as part of the young hippies, I had the ability to go around the world and test all of the great alcohol and the great drinks and smokes and bring them home to the village and pass it on. So I was elected to go to Jamaica. I heard about the Ganja. I said, just ask, one of those guys with the machetes, where do you get it? So I got in there. First thing, it was 98 degrees and I had a silk shirt on, sticking to my chest. So I got out of my car and I said, where you get the Ganja? And he looked at me like he was bored. And he got in the car and we went up, straight up, 5 miles up where the coffee is grown. And in between the coffee was this Ganja plants. So he took me into this hut. I'm still acting now like I know what I'm doing, So in there is jet black. And every now and then there was a light fire with a black face with red eyes and white smoke. You think vaping or something, you just see this white smoke coming out. They come in like this, and you see this red fire and this light and this black face and this white smoke would come out. And you get closer, the next thing you know, same thing, white smoke. And all of a sudden, the guy gave it to me. I said, hey, I can handle this. So I took it, The smoke was like fire. And I took it, and to my toes, I lost my feelings. And out of this cloud came this Russian and said, how much you want? I said, oh, in my pocket, pulled out some paper and gave it to him as well. He gave me a shopping bag. I'm still this actor, man. You're still hanging in there, I'm going cool, So I said, I'll take it, I'll go outside. The sun hit my face, and I look around in the village. I didn't notice that all the children were naked. The dogs stopped scratching, and the women stopped washing to watch me. So if you've ever gotten high on good marijuana, you know that paranoid feeling. So now I'm still got my silk T-shirt on. I'm cool. So I'm walking into the car, and I know these people want to get on my money. They want to beat me up and take my money. So I get in the car, and I look up, and they stole my steering wheel. It's gone. And I'm looking at the steering wheel, and I have to figure out, how am I going to get 5.5 miles back down to, oh my God, I'm going to die up here. So what am I going to do with the marijuana? Smoke some of it, smoke some of it. I don't know what I'm doing, man. I'm the reeking of marijuana, reeking. And about 25 minutes later, a high comes down, and I realize that I'm in Jamaica, and the steering wheel's over there. But I was cool. So I get out of the car, like I knew all along. And the dogs stopped scratching, and the children stopped playing, and the women stopped washing, to watch me go all the way around and get in the other side of the car. Now I've got to really relearn how to do this stick shift from that side of the car. Man, the car just kind of stumbled, and I went down this hill. By the time I got to the hotel where I was, 5.5 miles down, the word had spread over the island about me. So every time I saw somebody halfway decent, they'd look at me, out the window, back home. So they asked me, well, what was it like in Jamaica? I said, stuff is not as good as what you thought. I'll tell you the story, not just supposed to last, but how much I lied. How much that lie was growing in my system. The disease was waking up. In retrospect, it was catching on from childhood, coming together to a collision course with my common sense. I had gone to church on Sundays, learned how to party Friday and Saturday, and be a good boy for my great-grandmother and my grandmother, and everybody bought it. I learned how to do that in the public with the press. I played a little basketball, and I could play, but so did some of my heroes. So I was an artist as deflecting who I really was. Until one day, to make a long story short, all of that exploded. I had the best of everything you could find one day, and the house was empty. So I said, you know what? I think I'm through. So I put all that stuff on the table. I took a lot of it, and nothing happened. I said, well, maybe I have to do this with the combination with this and that. I just started itching. Nothing happened. So finally, I called my two sons, who knew it all along, so I wasn't keeping a secret to nobody. Everybody knew, but I didn't know that everybody knew. And then, I got to a choice of, can I say the word cocaine in here? What? What do you mean, yeah? Better break that relationship right now, will you? There's only done. So this is a whole bunch of men here, so part of that life through recovery and through nothing to be willing that I had lost control had to do with pussy. What they have, the women between their legs. And me and my musicians and athletes, we got the best. We take a hit of this and a hit of that, and off we go. That became a hero. That became a disease, just like cocaine and marijuana and alcohol. I couldn't do without them. Of course, the little blue pills started helping. And I don't remember when all of that became a reality. I kind of remember because I decided to go to rehab. First, about 22 years ago, I figured I'd go to rehab and take care of it all and come on back just like my friends did, you know. Most of those friends who did that died. For some reason, I'm still here alive. But once again, I was not willing to give it all up. So I went to the place where they had the mud. I went to Italy. I went to Israel, to the Dead Sea, and came back real strong, only so I could do that again and have good resistance. So I did not lie. Not only was I lying to y'all, I was lying to myself. So I would do that and be successful, just like the guys who brought me in the first place, the in crowd. The in crowd of Hollywood, because I had won all the awards, I was invited to the in crowd in the pool parties. And of course, I was good at it, and I had a good time. But something happened racially in Hollywood that even though I had won all those awards, I still wasn't good enough. It was in the behavior of the people, and that pissed me off. So now all the elements that we have to get rid of in the 12 steps, I'm feeling. So finally, my friend from New York said, we want you to be in Hollywood. So they put me on a TWA airline in the first class. And of course, they had the Kahlua and the vodka and the corn and the good food. They thought I was some African diplomat. And I'd sit there and have a good time in first class. Got to Los Angeles, and a limousine came out, the first one off the plane. And they took me to the Beverly Hills Hotel. That's where movie stars and ambassadors go. Put me up in the presidential suite, guys. Seventh heaven. And what I knew how to do best was lie. So I found where they got the good stuff. And they protected me at the Beverly Hills Hotel. They knew I was smoking. They protected me. They put the spray out. So they said, yeah, you've got a car. And the car was 25 minutes away from the hotel. Hertz rent-a-car was a Ford Fairlane 500, the hardtop convertible. And it was eggshell white with red interior. I come from the Greenwich Village in Coney Island, y'all. I'm Cook. I'm like Sam Cooke. So I put the top down, turn the music real up loud. It only takes 20 minutes to go from Hertz rent-a-car, from Laurel Canyon to the Beverly Hills Hotel. It took me 4.5 hours. I was put against every telephone pole, everything. The cops spread the word. Look at who do you think you are? Sit down. So they went through 4.5 hours of investigation. So by the time I got back to the hotel, I was excited, and the hotel man said, "What's your matter?" And I told him, he said, "Oh, that's expected. That's where the police are." And by the way, here's a guide to the movie stars' homes, because right there near the movie stars' homes, you want to see how they live. So about 8:30 at night after dinner, which was beautiful, I went out to lead the movie stars' home. Clark Gable, oh, Greer Garson, oh yeah, Gary Cooper. Within 10 minutes, I was handcuffed to a tree. So none of my acting worked with this police right there, and they handcuffed me to a tree for 3 hours. Went to the bathroom next to the tree. Finally, let me go. I called Brooklyn, and my dad answered, and I told him, he says, "I'm going to be right there." Now, how's he going to be right there from Coney Island to, he couldn't get there. And then my friend, my agent who got me out there said, "What are you going to do?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to go to work in the morning." So now I'm raw. I can't act. I can't make believe. I got to do this job. And elements like that started to build up, and I couldn't act anymore. I could only act in front of a camera. The only safe place I could do that. So I became all those characters, and slowly that stopped. And all of a sudden, my temper started getting stronger. And so did my alcohol. And so did my partying started getting hard. Till it got to a place where I just exploded. Went to Alcoholics Anonymous, and I had a lot of reasons to be angry and why I overdid it. And there was a man there, his name was Tommy. I don't know if you remember. He was in a wheelchair, and I think his name was Tommy. And his beard went down past his knees. I think it was old Tommy. And I share like I'm sharing now, but I was really emotionally pissed at ingratitude and racism and why I'm here, why I have a right to be pissed, and I got to get revenge. He says, come here. So he sat me down. He said, now, here's your choice. You can be angry at racism. You can be angry at being isolated, so the other people are not doing what you're doing, and you're angry at that. You can be very angry and justified so by being the minority. You can be angry for not making the money, or you can be right. I said, what are you talking about? It's either you can get rid of all that and be right and be sober, have a pretty good life. So I started to listen to him a little bit. Not easy to do, because now I learn, which is important for some people in this room, that the worst resentment that you could possibly have, and some of you might understand what I'm saying, is the one you feel justified to keep. Between your wife, your friend, somebody who double-crossed you, it's a justification. Got to get rid of it, because Lucifer has got in your ear. And Lucifer wants you with him, like he wanted me with him. All the stuff that passed in my mind about getting revenge, it's really clear because Lucifer's stronger than me. So once in a while you'd say, well, what can I do if, because they invited me to their society, and I'm the one that got caught, and they all over in the corner giggling at me. Wants to take a hand grenade and throw it. I wish. So finally, there's only one force in my life that's bigger than Lucifer and bigger than me put together. There's a higher power whom I call God. When I say, okay, I give up, that's a very powerful thing to do. That means I'm willing. You start doing these steps and be rigorously honest, and then you get in your life a partner, which will give you courage and fear of doing the right thing. So on a daily basis now here in 16 years, I have to make that decision every morning. Is it going to be Lucifer? Is it going to be God? Getting pretty good at it, because I don't have the answers. The answers come outside of me. Well, I have to do the work. I've got to do the rigorous honesty. I've got to do the fourth step almost all the time. The fifth step, make my amends constantly. And something happens to me on a daily basis here in year number 16. It's a natural function. And what it is a restoration to sanity and normalcy. And I found out once I restore myself to normalcy that some of the world out here outside these rooms are not quite as normal as we are. But we have no choice. We have to do these steps on a daily basis because Lucifer is pissed at me. And he's going to find some way of getting in there on a daily basis. And I've got to get the ability to keep my relationship with my higher power and recognize Lucifer in advance so it doesn't spoil my day. I've been the other way. I spoke at the Texas Council on, how much time do I have? Okay, so I did the governor of Texas, Ann, I can't remember her last name. She's one of them. Thank you. So I was told to speak at the Texas Council on alcoholism and drugs at this place that started out as a storefront. Now it's huge. Alcoholism and recovery is the largest thing in the United States, in Texas alone. So when I spoke, I had a man who was a janitor there. His name was Henry. And it couldn't get him straight because Henry had a little Southern Comfort in his locker room. They take a little drink stuff. So now they moved to the big building. He is now Department of Sanitation supervisor. So in his closet now, he's got a pint. I mean, Henry's doing okay, doing the job, but he's a little happier now, see? So I said, it reminded me of a story of this man who promised his family they would stop drinking. Some of you people might have heard this story before. He'd stop drinking and he'd get a job. And he makes a mistake and he gets drunk on Christmas Eve. So he's panicking. So he's going around knocking on doors trying to get this job, and people looking at him, slamming doors. Finally, he knocks on this one door, and the man opens up. He recognizes what's happening. He says, all right, what can I do for you? He goes, I got to get a job. I promised my family that I'd get a job so we could have a good Christmas. Calm down, calm down. Here's a can of paint. Here's a paintbrush. Run it back and paint my porch. He says, oh, man, thank you. Comes back 3 hours later, full of paint. He says, I'm finished. The guy says, good. Here's $500. Merry Christmas. The guy says, oh, man, you saved my life. But I got to tell you that's not a Porsche back there, man. That's a Lamborghini. Can you identify? So if you don't get a man sober before you give him the money, you're going to get your Lamborghini painted. I'm so grateful to be able to walk and talk and see people like me. And it's an affirmation, once again, on a daily basis, an affirmation that this program works. It knows no color and no race. And there you are sitting down like a family. And it's really an avocation. I'm very grateful. Give yourself a hand, by the way. Give yourself a hand. So now that's what happened. Here's what it is like today. Because of my experiences in this life, I've made a decision to fight inequities amongst people on a daily basis, 24/7. Lucifer's still in there. But he doesn't have a thing of us needing one another desperately for our mutual salvation, and it's like the 12 steps. The world needs us to drop all enmities because the world is dying, and our number one thing is the salvation of the planet. We need to clear up the oceans, make sure that the waters and the lakes are clean and clear, and the fish in it are edible. The stuff coming out of trees and plants are edible because we have drained the vitamins out of the ocean, busy trying to be number one. So God has secretly pinned us into a corner, and the only thing that's going to save us, just like us in the room, is the best of us has to come together for a mutual salvation of mankind. There's no longer white, black, it's nothing but mankind, the human race. I see it happening. I pray on a daily basis to help it along as a senior member of mankind. So I go some places and point for what it's worth. I empty it. I'm here to tell you, experience, strength, and hope. Think about why we're here in the first place. We're not here to, especially since we've stopped using, that maybe to replace that using thing is a selfless service, which is what we say on all these meetings. Selfless service puts us in a mindset of being a servant of the Word. If it's daily meditation and prayer on a daily basis, and an inventory and a gratitude list in the evening, you can take a deep breath and go to sleep. First thing in the morning, you got to do it again for the rest of our lives. And we find that it's a message that I get, of what to do for that day. And in closing, our getting sober with these steps is like, if you ever remember in school, they took a piece of paper with metal shavings on one side and a magnet on the other. And that magnet would move and those metal shavings would follow. Our getting sober is the same attraction. It's the same chemistry. And we become a program of attraction when we walk out of these rooms and see some people see something's changed in you. What have you done? It is because it has got this magnetic influence on us that we may not know we have. If you're new, check yourself out on a daily basis and watch how you become what they call a program of attraction. It happens as a result of these steps. And all of a sudden it says, at the end, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we practice them in all our affairs. There's a whole bunch of lights in this room today. Those who did not know, let me remind you, you're a bunch of lights. And you have to keep the light on by beating Lucifer, who's stronger than you, aligning with your higher power who called God, and getting on with it one day at a time. So I had a chair here that I was going to sit in, but I didn't need it. Thank you. So I thank you for your attention. I thank you for your audience. And I think my friend, where is he? You gone? He said, this man can't say that. I'm going home. Thank you for your love. Back at you. I love you madly. Next time I'll see you, I'll listen to one of your stories. Thank you.